All right, everyone, welcome back to the Clara CFO Group channel. Today we're talking about the PPP Easy Forgiveness Application. The PPP Easy Forgiveness Application, okay? Let's just throw some more letters in there. Why not? So this application is pretty important and it's new and I wanted to bring it to you. So make sure you're subscribed to this channel because I'm trying to bring you this information as soon as I get it, I digest it, and I can understand it enough to talk to you guys about it. So be sure to subscribe so that you can get all the latest updates on the PPP program. All right. So the interesting thing about this easy application, and I understand why they put this out. So they put out a forgiveness application a couple weeks ago. The Treasury and the SBA put out this application, and it was a little scary for people. And I even did a video on the sole proprietor, how the sole proprietor would fill it all out. And even stripping out some of the pages, it was still a little bit confusing for people, okay? So they decided that, hey, there's probably a few people that could go through an easier process and not have to do all of the really detailed FTE calculations and wage reduction calculations, because both if you reduce full-time equivalents and if you reduce wages, you have to reduce your Paycheck Protection Program loan amount and what can be forgiven. So what they did is now they have two applications. They have the complex one still, that's still there, and it's been modified for the Flexibility Act, but now they have this easy form, okay? And it's still like 5 pages, but at least it's a little bit better in a lot of those instructions and certifications that we just have to do. So it's not that big of a deal, but what I want this specific video to be about is understanding whether or not you can use this easy form. Okay, not everybody's going to be able to use it. So I want you to know whether or not this one is for you. So on the first page of this, of the instructions, they're going to basically say there are 3, you need to check one of 3 checkboxes. And this is actually on the instruction. So you don't turn this form in. You actually have to certify to this. There's a certifications page similar to when you got the loan, you had to certify what you were going to use the money for. Now, when we go to apply for forgiveness, we're going to have to make these similar certifications, okay? Like put your initials or checkbox, and then you're going to have to sign it, okay? This is where you proclaim good faith that you use the money as intended. Now, these rules, you have to be within these 3 things in order for you to use the easy form, okay? So I'm going to tell you what those 3 things are. The first one, as you might guess, is for really easy loans. It's for the sole proprietor, the independent contractor, and the self-employed individual are the terms that they use, that have no employees, and you just are basically giving yourself compensation. Okay, so that's the first one. So if you did not include any employee salaries in your payroll costs when you originally applied, then this is for you, okay? And that's an easy checkbox, So if you were a sole proprietor, you had a Schedule C, you had a number on your line 31, you applied with that number, 2.5, this, just go ahead and check that box. This is for you. It's going to be very easy to fill out in that situation. Now, the second and the third ways that you can use the easy form are pretty similar. So there are 2 parts. The second and the third are both 2 parts, okay? So the first thing that you have to certify is that you did not reduce the annual salary or hourly wages for any of your employees throughout the covered period more than 25%. Because remember, we don't want to reduce employee wages more than 25%, because then we have the salary reduction calculations that we have to do. What they're doing here is they're saying, hey, just tell us you didn't do it, okay? Certify that you didn't. Yes, there's going to be payroll reports and stuff that you have to submit, but just tell us you didn't do it, okay? So that's the first part of this. And then the second part is that you did not reduce the number of employees or the average paid hours between January 1st and the end of the covered period. So what they're saying is that they want you to basically tell them that you didn't change your FTE calculation, which makes sense because your PPP forgiveness will get reduced if you reduce your FTE, okay? Now they're saying in here, remember that if you cannot rehire qualified people, so if people left or if people had to be laid off and you couldn't rehire qualified people, that's okay. Those are exempt. We understand that. And then they're also saying ignore any reductions in employees' hours if the borrower offered to give the employee more hours, but the employee refused. So think about all those people that went on unemployment and then you offered them a job and then they didn't want to come back because they were making more money on unemployment. That's okay. You can still file the easy form if that's clear, like any of your loss of FTEs, if you have very clear reasons for them and they just didn't come back because they were on unemployment, you can use this form as long as you did not reduce their salaries more than 25% or all of your employees. If you didn't reduce people's salaries more than 25% and they chose not to come back, or you couldn't hire similarly qualified employees to come back and fill those spaces, okay? So that's a two-part thing. And that's just one of the checkboxes. So the third checkbox is a very similar two-part thing. And the first part is the same. It is let the borrower certify that they did not reduce annual salaries more than 25%. So we've got that down. We understand that we need to keep everybody's salaries. Don't cut anybody more than 75 or more than 25%, unless they're over 100,000. They're not caring about that, okay? And then the second part of this last certification is saying that the borrower, if you were not able to restore your business to pre-COVID, pre-February 15th business level, so you weren't able to fully operate at what your normal capacity was, or if you had to shut down for other reasons, or you had to operate at 50% or something like that, if the government has shut you down, if the Secretary of Health and Human Services, the CDC, or the OSHA organizations, if any of those gave you rules that required you to shut down your business or to reduce capacity, then your headcount reduction as a result of those mandates do not count. So they're basically saying, if you kept all of your people basically at the same wage rate and you didn't reduce them more than 25%, and you didn't have any reductions in headcount unless they were specifically related to these government mandates, then you can also use this easy form, okay? Which helps those business owners that really, maybe you had to cut 50% of your staff, but you were only able to operate at 50% and you couldn't give anybody any more hours without just paying them to sit at home. So this helps those business owners out a lot. Now you still need to be documenting all those individuals and understand like exactly why they didn't come back and why they didn't have a job. Still document that one by one, because that's going to be a support for your file. You're not going to have to submit that, but you do need to certify to it. And if the SBA came back and they wanted to look at some support for your certification, then you would have it, okay? So those are the 3 reasons that you can use the PPP EZ form for your forgiveness application. Check it out. I'm going to put the link below to the instructions so you can read it over and you can understand. But if your business has not been able to come back to what it was before, I think you're probably going to be able to take advantage of some of these safe harbor rules, and you are going to be able to probably write off some of these FTE reductions, okay? All right, so those are the 3 reasons that you can use the easy form for your PPP forgiveness application. And I know that that's wordy, so I am going to put the link below so you can read it for yourself just to make sure that I've explained it correctly and that you feel comfortable with what you're certifying to. Please make sure you read through all the certifications before you sign your name to anything, because this is important and you are basically giving your word of honor that you have done the right thing here. So make sure that you feel comfortable with that before you sign it. All right. Okay, subscribe to this channel if you aren't already, because I'm going to keep bringing you this type of information and I'm going to keep helping small business owners. So thanks, guys. Bye.